Hello, my name is Khadijah, and I'm here to share my resources, knowledge, and experience when it comes to buying a home using low to moderate income grants and programs, specifically for the Richmond, Henrico, and North Chesterfield areas of Virginia. This video is part of a larger series where I share information on each of the grants and programs that I've used. This one in particular, I'm aiming to keep under 15 minutes because I will be covering both of the grants that I use to buy my home. Those grants are Home of VA and Southern Community Development and Housing Corporation. I will add links in the description box for the major references that I make throughout the video, and I will also be looking down from time to time to make sure that I'm staying on track and covering everything that I want to share with you along the way. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. The first grant I want to cover is Home of VA. That stands for Housing Opportunities Made Equal of Virginia. They have an income requirement. You have to make a minimum of $30,000 in order to qualify. You can make that as an individual, or if you have other people that are on the application with you, you can make that collectively. They also have a maximum income limit. The income limit is based on the area that you're going to be looking in. So some areas of town have a higher income limit, some areas of town have a lower income limit. So for the lower end, you want to make sure that if you're an individual, you are making less than $61,800. For two people, you want to make sure you're making less than $70,600. If you have multiple people on the application, if you have kids, for example, that number goes up. And for the higher bracket of this income limit, if you're an individual, then you want to be making less than $88,800. If you're two people, you want to be making less than $101,500. And again, the more people you have on the application, the higher that number goes. Typically, it goes up by about $9,000 for each person that's added onto the application. All right, now you have your income requirement and your income limit, and you're ready to submit your application. Application turnaround is about 10 days. So you should expect 10 days to you should expect it to take about 10 days before you hear back from anyone. Once you hear back from them, they will ask you to complete their homebuyer education course. That's their workshop. And it's pretty low stakes. It's online, 2 hours, virtual Zoom meeting, make dinner, chill out, get it done. And then you have a certificate. Now that you have a certificate, you're ready to get the intake. You're ready to start sending information to your housing counselor. And your housing counselor, they're on your side. They want you to get a home. They want to support you through this process. And even with that, it is our responsibility to make sure that we're communicating, that we're advocating for ourselves, and that we're clear on what they're asking of us. That's just a little sneak piece of advice in there. And with the intake, what they're going to ask you for is your ID, 3 months of pay stubs, 6 months of bank statements, your past 2 years of your tax returns, and they're looking for reasonably good credit. I don't quite remember what that number is. I'm gonna say that it's like roughly 620 or better. And if that's not where your credit score is right now, that's totally fine. Do not feel discouraged because your housing counselor will work with you. They will create a budget and a spending plan with you. They will help you remedy any outstanding debts. They'll help you get that credit score up. That may take a little bit longer, but that's okay. We want our credit scores to be a little bit higher, so that's a good thing. And then once you have that improved credit, you've got your spending plan, you've got your savings plan, the last thing that they're going to look for is that you have $2,000 in savings. That $2,000 comes up a lot, and that is because in the home buying process, you have to pay for a home inspection, a possible re-inspection, you have to pay for your house to be appraised, and you always, always, always want to get a home inspection. It's always a good idea. You want to know the ins and outs of what your house is really functioning at. How is it doing? You know, what things can be remedied before you move in? What can you negotiate to have fixed? And so that's always a really good idea. So that's why they want you to have the $2,000 as a cushion and to be ready for those costs. So from start to finish, if you're ready to go, you're prepared, everything goes smoothly, it can take, roughly 45 days. So in 45 days, you may be granted the Home of VA grant. The grant is for a maximum of $10,000. That's the current maximum in 2024. Numbers do change. And once you've been granted this $10,000, you've completed all the steps, the very last thing that they're going to do is have you sign a home buyer agreement. And here is the caveat. Okay? So you have this $10,000. It is a grant. It is a grant. But for the first 10 years, you are agreeing to it being a soft loan, basically. What that means is that for the $10,000, 1/10 of it is going to be taken off every year that you live there for 10 years. They want to know that you're going to live in your home and be invested in it for 10 years. And at the end of the 10 years, disappears, it's nothing. If you move out at 5 years, you will owe them back $5,000. And we're not going to do that because we're going to buy a house that we love. We're going to buy a house that we're invested in, that we want to live in long term. And there are a couple of situations where you may not have to pay that back. Maybe like foreclosure might be one. I'm not entirely sure, but we're not going in that direction at all because our focus is on getting a home that we love, that we want to stay in, and that we're going to be invested in. But that is the caveat. They want you to be in that home for 10 years. So the next grant that I'm going to talk about is called Southern Community Development and Housing Corporation, or it's from that organization. And it has some similarities. So you begin with your online application. You should expect to hear back in about 7 days. I did not hear back in about 7 days. I think I kind of got lost in the mix. It ended up working out for me. It's no one's fault. Again, these housing counselors are on your side. They want you to get this house. I did end up just showing up and talking to someone, and that pushed everything along. And that's where it goes back to being able to advocate for yourself, communicate, communicate, communicate. So once you have heard back, they will ask you to complete the Virginia Housing Homebuyer Education course. It is an 8-hour course. It's online, it's self-paced, it's free. And it is one of the best things that I did for myself in becoming a home buyer. It's an incredibly informative workshop, or I guess I should say course. It is really a course. It's not just the pre-home buying things. It's not just the savings and the budget. It's also like the process of home buying, what to look for when you're looking at homes. It's about realtors versus real estate agents. It's about loan structures and loan types and lenders. And then once you're done, it's about maintenance and what happens when you own the home. It's a really great and detailed overview of what home buying really means and what that really looks like. So even if you're not going to use any of these grants, not going to use any of these programs, I still highly recommend that you take the Virginia Housing Homebuyer Education course if you're planning to buy a house. It is just very useful in general, and it helps you out with grants. So once you complete that, they will also have you take their down payment assistance workshop. It's another Zoom 2-hour, pretty relaxed workshop. You eat dinner, you go to it. It's very relaxed. And after that, they are going to ask you for documents. They're going to ask you for your ID. They're going to ask you for 6 months of pay stubs, 6 months of bank statements, the past 2 years of your tax returns. And this should also take roughly 45 days to complete. They also look for relatively good credit, and again, they will help you get that credit score up if you need to. Do not feel discouraged in any way. Whatever financial things that you need to work on, that's what these housing counselors are here to do. They're here to support you get to a place where you are truly ready to buy a home. And after all of that, and after you have your $2,000 in your savings, because they want that too, you will sign the homebuyer agreement. Da, 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 da. The Southern Community Grant is for $30,000, and that is a significant amount of money. It's great. That's the maximum amount that you can get. Again, these are 2024 numbers, and they will have that stipulation in the homebuyer agreement too, that you stay in your home for 10 years, 1/10 of it is taken off every year. It's considered a soft loan for those 10 years. And again, we're not going to worry about that because we're going to get a house that we want to be in long term. But I do want to be transparent that that is part of the agreement. I want to talk about a program that I didn't end up using because it wasn't available when I was working with Southern Community, but it is an incredible program. It's called Spark. And the way that it works is if you qualify, they will take 1% they will give you a 1% mortgage interest rate reduction. So the current mortgage interest rate is 6.75%. And if you're in the Spark program, your interest rate can be 5.75%, which is incredible. That'll save you tens of thousands of dollars. And to qualify for that, you want to be below 100% of the area median income. So it's going to be somewhere between those two numbers, you know. So for an individual, you want to be somewhere between 61,800 and 88,800, right? Like you want your income to be somewhere below that. You will also have to meet with your housing counselor, and you have to complete the Virginia Housing Homebuyer Education course. So if you did everything before for the initial grant, you're covered for this one. If this is available, go for it. Do it. Ask your housing counselor about it. Tell them that you're interested. It's very useful, and you've already done all the work. So why not get the extra bonus? The last major piece that I want to share is really about all of the grants and programs that I'm talking about outside of NACA. So with the Home of VA, with Southern Community Development and Housing Corporation, with Virginia Housing, which I'll talk about there, opportunities with Maggie Walker Community Land Trust, which I'll talk about them as well. All four of them work with specific lenders. When you get your mortgage, right, it's going to be through a bank. That is your lender. They work with specific lenders. I think you should look at all of the lenders that they use, see which ones they all have in common, and pick the one that they all share that you want to work with, right? That's going to make it smooth for you. You're like, okay, here's my lender. Here's a person that works with all of them. Here's a person that I want to work with. And throughout this process, these organizations are going to be doing soft pulls of your credit. And a soft pull does not ding your credit at all. It is really just for them to get your credit score. When you go with your lender, when you actually begin the process of getting a mortgage, they are going to do a hard pull of your credit, right? They're going to ding your credit for a little bit. It's not a major ding, and I think it only lasts about 90 days. But it's important that you pick the lender that you want and that you have that hard pull just pulled once if possible, right? You don't want your credit to get hit multiple times while you're in the home buying process. And I ended up going with Virginia Credit Union. They work with everyone that I've listed and I'm going to talk about. I had a really great experience with them. They also offer this added bonus where if you work with this realtor group that they have a connection to, they will give you like a percentage of your closing costs off. Like I think I got an extra $1,200 off of my closing costs. And I was able to work with the best realtor of all time. Her name is Pearl Evans Shaw. She's with Joyner Fine Properties and she's incredible. She's on your side. She's your advocate. She's going to make sure you're well taken care of. She knows her stuff. She knows how to do a walkthrough of a house and really teach you how to pay attention to what's important. I learned a lot about how to do walkthroughs. I learned a lot about houses in general from her. I think I can't give a better recommendation than Pearl Evans Shaw with Joyner Fine Properties. She's incredible. So with that, I think that is the gist of this entire grant. You know, these two grants. If you want to go ahead and be prepared, what I would have ready is your ID. Go ahead and have 6 months of bank statements, 6 months of pay stubs, your past 2 years of your tax transcripts, and start getting those savings. Or if you already have the savings, then you're good to go. Those are the big things that you need. And I hope this was informative and useful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.